To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Everybody, it's Miss Jen, up to the last minute, moving things around so it looks cool. Hi, this is The Experience, and this is Talking Shop, which is the perfect place for you to find out about some cool books that are either out in shops now and have some extra issues coming, or are brand new coming out this week. And there's no better people to hear about those books than from the creative people that made them. In this case, my first guest is a creator. They did a co-creation on this book, which is awesome. I love when I can see people work together to make something this awesome. This is a book from Scout Comics called Black Cotton, which I'm a huge fan of. This is Patrick Foreman.
Hey, how you doing, Jen?
I'm doing good. Now, wait. I see you got the Longhorns hat on, and that's the first question I'm going to have to ask you because my husband's a Longhorn. Are you, in fact, a Longhorn?
I do. I love Texas, and I'm not from Texas. I'm actually from Arkansas, and I grew up in Virginia Beach. So, luckily, retired Marine. I got stationed in Houston. So I was able to, enjoy the time I was there and see a Super Bowl too.
Which one did you get to go see?
I got to see the one that Carolina, and Beyonce was the actual, the one who sung the national anthem. So it wasn't too bad. I could actually walk to the stadium. I parked at base and walked to the stadium.
How fun! Are you naturally like a football fan, or was it?
Yeah, I'm naturally. Yeah, I played football all my life. I played rugby, and now I'm into ultimate frisbee. So yeah, that's just my thing.
Okay, so I want to talk about ultimate frisbee because I live in an area. It's a suburb of Houston, and they have a lot of parks that have like really nice, like frisbee disc golf courses set up. And it's difficult because we're in the middle of like a forest, so there's a lot of tree things are in the way. So, okay, are there any points for style when you're playing, or is it just like purely we're just trying to get it in there as quickly as possible?
There's no points for style.
No.
You only look in a maze. You're like, man, that was nice, but close, you don't get no points for close.
Have you ever had anything like really weird happen, like a bird flying the way and get knock stuff down, or?
Nah, not yet. I'll say not yet, but probably will happen in the future.
So, did you pick it up because a friend was doing it, or what brought you to the frisbee parts?
Oh, basically on base. Playing football obviously wears a lot of your body down, and definitely playing rugby. So I had to find something that wasn't as strenuous on my body. And ultimate frisbee, got into ultimate frisbee. And I had a first sergeant who introduced me to it when I was stationed in Massachusetts. And it was just a natural thing for me. So I've been playing ever since 2006. Yeah.
Oh, you're an expert now. This isn't something you just picked up recently. You know what you're doing.
Nah, they know I actually play in a tournament next Saturday. So they know when I get on the field, go deep. Because I look deep first before I go short. Because I can throw that thing like 50 yards easy. So so if they take off running, it's gone. And the people who've never played with me, it's so funny because they want to stay short, and I'll throw it, and everybody who played with me, they'll start yelling, "Just keep running." Because they know it's gonna go in front of you, so just run.
I will tell you that the youth at my church, the 100% chance, 100% way to get them actually show up for an event is to play that game for sure.
Hey,
or
it's an awesome
have
sport.
food or both.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, food to get even the adults. Oh, there's food there.
So how old were you when you started in the military?
I was 19. Yeah, 1993 was when I joined. Yeah, April of 1993. Went to boot camp in November. Right, matter of fact, I left on Halloween, and then I retired 2018, May 1st of 2018. Yeah,
What a wonderful long career.
Yeah, in 26 years, not bad at all.
Amazing. So did you go straight from high school in?
I did. Yeah, I enlisted, before I graduated and shipped off, after a couple of months after. So wasn't bad. The best choice I made.
Was it a family thing? Do you have other family members that have served?
I do. I have my aunt and uncle who are retired Navy. And that was the big thing. Everybody kept asking, why you going in the Marine Corps? And I was like, well, I can't swim. So you ain't going to get me on a boat, surrounded by water. So, but ironically, I am a genuine chief in the Navy because I went through their induction, which they call it CPO 365 now. So when you get selected for chief in the Navy, they take you through this it's almost like a whole nother boot camp. It's intense, but if you go through, then you're officially called a chief. So I went through with them. So it's funny when I can go to like a Navy facility or whatnot, and I'll say especially when I was in uniform, I would ask for the chief. And they would say, well, who's asking? Even though I was a master sergeant in the Marine Corps, I would say Chief Foreman. And they would look at me like, huh? I mean, Chief Foreman, go tell him, So, and they knew me because it wasn't many Marines who were, chiefs. So
yeah,
it was good.
What an amazing thing. Your family must be like super proud of you.
Yeah. So, and that was something that I wanted to do. Both of my aunt and uncle, one retired a master chief, the other one retired a chief. So all my career, my goal was at least get to gunny so I could do that. And fortunately, I got promoted to master sergeant too. So, I had a great career. Love my career. I was a career planner. So all I did was help Marines, with their career, plan their career, or also help them transition out of the military. I used to tell my Marines all the time, I said, career planners, we have to give the good and the bad news. So prepare yourself for both. And it was a phenomenal career.
What's the hardest transition, do you think?
Oh, here's some you might not, know about me. I also have a magazine, Returning Citizens magazine, which helps individuals who are incarcerated transition back into society successfully. And when you ask that question, I brought the two together. It's something that I saw. Veterans, we go through TRS, Transitional Readiness Seminar, which is supposed to prepare us to transition out. But if you do it too late, most Marines, they don't do it early enough. They should do it at least 2 years out, or to be honest, 4 years out would be ideal because there's so much information. So if you do it late, it's like 6 months for you to exit out, you're getting this fire hose of information that you don't have time to actually implement and put into place. And that's what I would say is the hardest piece. Those individuals who don't prepare for that, who don't prepare to transition. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do that, then when you get out on the other side, it's almost like an incarcerated individual leaving the facility who isn't prepared. Yeah. Everything comes at you in abundance. You got to find a place to live. You got to get, a job. All of these things, veterans are still going through too. You're normally not staying where you are. You might retire in Virginia, but you might be going back to California. So you have to truly prepare for all of that, all the paperwork. Mm-hmm. So that's, it's all in the preparation. That's the hardest piece, especially those who don't retire. Those who are just leaving 4 years or 8 years, they need to prepare even more. Because me, I'm lucky. I went the long haul and retired. So guess what? The next month, I still get a paycheck because my retirement kicks in. But if you didn't retire, well, you don't have nothing kicking in. So you have to truly set yourself up for success. And that was my job. I tried to set everybody up for success. And I found joy in it.
I understand what you're saying about the being prepared also applies to prisoners. I have a criminal justice degree and did my internship at a women's prison, a maximum security women's prison. Nice. So I watched them try to transition out. And I understand from working at a prison for so long, what happens is that you get used to a certain, like everything happens the same way every day. You don't have to make the decisions about a lot of things because everything comes from above you in decision making. And when you come out, either way, that you're just like, okay, well, my day isn't set for me. Now what do I do?
What do I do? And I'm glad you said that. And that's awesome, your background, because what I saw was, I deployed to Iraq. My wife, she's a retired Marine too. And she deployed more times than me. But one thing that I equate it to is almost like a deployment, because when we are deployed, we're so focused on that mission. That's it. Our responsibility, paying bills, we're not thinking about none of that. Whoever is left behind, we're entrusting them to take care of all of that. And our job is to stay alive, do the mission, stay alive, and get back home safe. So you're on alert. It's like 110. It's a different way of life. So when you come back, that's what they saw. They saw you can't just take a individual who has been in that environment on 110 alert and then just throw them back into civilization and think that the people they interact with are going to be safe. They're not, because they haven't came down. They haven't truly transitioned back to an actual tempo that it's like, okay, I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm home. And that's the same with incarcerated individuals. They have a certain way of life that they have adopted to survive. So there has to be something in place to help them transition. And what we try to do is we move that timetable back, try to change the mindset and let them know, okay, here's what you're going to need. So start on it 12 months out. You need your driver's license, Social Security, start looking for jobs. Here's who you can, all of these things. Here are programs that you can get into so that when they get out, it's not so stressful for them. They already have a plan in place. And same with veterans. If you move the timetable back, then whenever they exit out of the Marine Corps or the service, I'll say, whenever they exit out of the service, they are better prepared for their next journey in life.
I'm sure that they're, like, in both cases, so very thankful to have somebody who's been through it and knows what they'll need. And I'm sure you you're very real with them and tell them what's the good and the bad, so they can
You have to.
not sideswiped by life.
The good and the bad. You're absolutely right. That's the best policy. Give the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I know we're supposed to talk about comics, but I want to get through some other stuff that I saw, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you have an IMA.
Oh, yeah. I do. I have a Independent Music Award. Yeah, and Brian, I wish he was able to have joined today, because it's so funny when people ask us to introduce ourselves. I always say, "Hey, you go first," you know.
Why? So, I do have a really long list of cool stuff, and then I was like, okay, well, what's the likelihood that anyone else is going to have all this crazy? And then you sent me yours. I'm like going, mic drop.
Okay. So I put out a gospel album in 2019. And in 2020, I won an IMA Independent Music Award for one of my songs on my album, He's Able. That was crazy, because you're talking over 200 countries, and just to be in the running, I was happy. When I got the email, I was like, oh, I'm 1 out of 5, you know. I'm a nominee. What? And then when I won, I still can't believe it. I go on Google just and look my name up just to see it, you know, make sure it don't disappear. But it's pretty phenomenal that just blessed to, you know, win that award. But I had a phenomenal team. Richard Davis. Can't say enough about him. Matter of fact, I'm gonna see him tonight, because we're working on a new song that I'm gonna release this year. Tawan Gray, Tawan Gray. He can sing all 3 levels: tenor, alto, and soprano. So I got it. You know, that's my guy who I have in there with me all the time, because I know he can. You know, he knows so many people. And his vocal range is phenomenal. And then Richard Davis, the musician, you know, and also he helps me compose, but just his ability to play so many instruments. And David Scott, I just can't, you know, I can't say enough about him. He was the one who said yes to sing the lead on the song. He's the leader for the lead singer for the sensational gospel tones of Williamsburg, and just the man is bad. He can sing anything, just phenomenal. So I'm excited. I'll tell you this real quick. Like I said, tonight I'm going back in the studio to almost finish a song that I'm working on now called Psalms 117. But Angelica Baylor, I know you might not know her, but have you ever heard of Genuine?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. She sung backup for Genuine. So she's been all over the world and has just a gorgeous voice. And I heard her sing live one time, and just the networker that I am, I said, I gotta, you know, at least say something to her, you know, get a picture or something. So I went up to her and I kind of put a seed in. I said, hey, I would love for you to sing on one of my songs, you know, sometime. This was almost 2 years ago. And I hit her up and she said, yeah, she was singing the lead. So, you know, yeah. So I've just been blessed. I truly been blessed, but I'm just, like I tell people, I'm just having fun. And that's just like Black Kai. You know, me and Brian, we're just having fun. And Brian is, I can't say enough about him. The guy's a genius. He truly is a genius. And I'll say this little tidbit, you know, kind of going into Black Kai. Me and Brian met January 2020. So it's not like we met each other. Yeah.
How did you get a whole book put out that fast?
Yeah. So we have a mutual friend named Luke Wright, who phenomenal individual, has a book out, The Right Thought, just, a real motivational guy. So me and him, we go speak in prisons. So we were in Maryland speaking in a prison. And when we left, we were just kind of, amped up. And I was like, man, I got this concept that I would love to do as a comic book, because I've collected comic books all my life. Out of me and Brian, I'm the collector and he's the reader. So Luke was like, hey, well, I got a friend who's, been in the comic book world for over 10 years. I was like, cool. Hey, let's meet. So January, we met at lunch and we started talking about the concept. And I was like, look, man, even the cotton is black. And when I said that, he said, well, that's the name. That's it. Black cotton. So we went from lunch to my place that same day and just started working on Black Cotton. And in October, we had, basically, 4 issues already, mapped out. We had already did the artwork for the first one. And Brian, like I said, fortunate. He's made so many connections during his time, just being in the comic book world. So one day he called me. He was like, hey, man, what do you think about pitching to Scout Comics? He was like, I know I'm real close with the CEO, Brendan. He was like, what do you think? He was like, look him up. So I looked him up and I was like, hey, you know what? I like Scout. I said, why not? He pitched to him. And then next thing you know, they were like, we want y'all part of the family. And then before we knew it, we were part of Scout and, planning to roll out everything. So it's been phenomenal. Just, COVID really helped us because, like I said, when we met, I had never written any comic book, so everything I know came from Brian. He set me up. And since COVID happened, it freed up our time to where he could really just pour into me. And me and him, we've had thousands of conversations, just going back and forth and writing. And then he would, he's an editor by trade. So, because he's an editor with Mad Cave. So, I write, he edit, he write, and then he would tell me to read it, and I'm like, okay, so here we go. And boom, boom. And here we are still at it. And we are enjoying every second of it. And the love that we're getting from the world, it is astounding. It's still blowing our minds, So we're happy that the world is receiving it. And we're happy that they also are enjoying it. We enjoy it.
I know that when I saw the pitch for it, I was like, this is a brilliant book, and I hope it's received for what they're trying to say with it. And I really was hoping that someone didn't glom onto it and make it a negative thing. I was really terrified for you guys for a long time. And it turns out I shouldn't have been worried at all. I think that to me, Scout always sells really well. Always sells really well. But I don't think I've ever seen a book sell as quickly that I ordered in such large amounts as Black Cotton. So you guys hit the right time with the right story.
And go ahead, please.
I just this idea of having 2 creators / writers for the book obviously did really well for it, because you guys fleshed out the idea so well that it doesn't have any missteps.
And the beauty about that is we are able to check each other, because I tell people this all the time. We have implicit bias that are built into us, just by experience and life that we might not be conscious of. And during conversations with each other and what we're putting in, we're able to actually, like, hey, let's talk about this piece right here. Because one time, Brian, we were talking about Zion, and he just flat out, he was like, you're trying to protect Zion. And we had to go in deep, because I didn't see it. But then I was like, you're right. I am trying to protect Zion. And it was coming through in the writing. And I was like, oh, so we challenge each other so that we can pull out our implicit bias and give people the best. And that is, why I believe that having the two writer concept on this, subject is working out great, because we are able to check each other. And what we love and what we really didn't want is a preachy comic book, because that's not what it's intended. It's not intended to preach anything. The core intention of Black Cotton is to start conversation. We want people to be able to read it in a safe environment, meaning you and the book. You read the book. Most people read their comic books, just you and the comic book. It's not in a group setting, it's just you and the book.
That's right.
So you're able to read the comic book, and then you're having these reactions, but it's just between you and yourself. So nobody is challenging you or actually attacking you. So you have this self-dialogue going back and forth. But what happens at the end is you want to talk about it. You're like, so what did you think when you saw that? And we do that on purpose. We put certain things in there to get a reaction from you so that you can have that, self-dialogue in a safe environment. That way, when you go and do the second step, which is conversation, well, guess what? Now you've already had that self-dialogue, so you've developed, some empathy for the person you're going to be talking to before you're talking to them. So the conversation is even better.
I feel like when you get to trade paperback time, I really have kind of a gut feeling that this might be something that college educators might have as part of their regular curriculum, is something for people to read and really to think deeply about. And I think that it might stand the test of time as being not just like, oh, look, this cool concept. This is this really says something.
And that's what we want. We would love that, because it is hard to find something that is done in a way where people aren't offended.
Right.
And that's what we are very careful about. We're not trying to offend, people. Sure. We want reactions, but it's not offensive reactions. We're not trying to do that. We just want you to go through the same process that we went through, that we go through as we write this, which is, we learn a lot about ourselves. We're like, oh, snap. Like, for instance, I'll tell you, this was funny. So, because at the end of issue number 3, since I can say it now because it's out there, we bring in the twins, who are, half Black and half Japanese. So me and Brian were having a discussion, and we were talking about, I was like, oh, cool, martial arts and stuff. And he was like, so just because they're Asian, they have to know martial arts? And
Hold on the floor.
Right. So it's like, oh, you know what? Didn't even think about that. So that's something that we, made sure that we kind of play with now, because when people see them, so what do you think? Automatically, are you thinking, oh, martial arts, they got to know, or is it, something else? So what things are, or stereotypes are you putting on people just because, you look at them and you're like, oh, there you go. So, yeah, we just
All right,
want people
Patrick,
to be more conscious.
I'm heartbroken because we've run out of time. So I'm going to say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have another interview, you and I, because there's about 20,000 other things I want to unpack with you. I really do. Give everybody where they should follow you on social media if they want to follow you or find the gospel album, for example, that I want to get now.
I'm gonna tell you, it will bless you. It's a great album. So you can download the album. It's on all social medias, CD Baby, iTunes, anywhere. If you just look up my name, Patrick Foreman and Family, that's the title. It's called "I'm Calling on You," and then I have another single, I Feel Him. Black Kind got a Facebook page, Black Kind Comic. We got Instagram, so if you look up Black Kind Comic, boom, you'll find us there. Brian Hawkins Writes, that's his tag, even on Twitter. So you can look us up on Twitter too. Let me see, and on Instagram is his, Brian Hawkins Writes. So definitely. Also, he puts out a monthly little kind of blog too. So check into that, especially if you're inspiring writers or creators, because he gives tips. And like I said once before, Brian is a phenomenal teacher, a phenomenal writer. And so definitely, if you want to go to the next level, check him out and follow him.
Perfect. A true honor to meet you. I can't wait to talk again to you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this interview on The Experience. We have another amazing interview coming up next. Patrick, take care, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Experience. I am here talking to you from the front end of Space Cadets Collection, which for some reason it's so hot in Texas right now. It's 1 degree cooler than the surface of the sun. Hey, but we're going to talk about something that'll cool us right off. We have an amazing guest coming up next, Dave Baker. I'm super excited to talk to. Hey, I owe you 4 minutes of my life because I accidentally went over. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I'm not worried about it.
I was like, boy, Dave's hanging out. All right, so your book that's coming out through Dark Horse, Everyone's Tulip,
Yes.
It speaks so specifically to me because we started The Experience back in January, and it's quite obviously a big social platform and network in which we have a bunch of people like me who now are on the air all the time and our faces are out there. And that's what your book deals with, is this a whole idea about, social media and YouTube celebrity and how deep people get up into your business. So what got you interested or inspired you to tackle the subject?
Yeah, so the book Everyone is Tulip is about a young woman from Arizona who wants to be an actor, and she moves to Los Angeles to try and pursue that goal, and kind of, as you so eloquently outlined, gets sucked up into the high stakes world of YouTube performance art, which is a real thing. It's a very strange and bizarre subculture that exists on the internet, and this, it's a real thing. So the artist Nicole Gu, who illustrated Shadow of the Batgirl for DC Comics, and I were kind of maybe a couple years ago, we were really like interested in these people. There's a bunch of them. There's like this Russian performance artist named Dolvita. There's an American one named Poppy. There's an American Muppet group called Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. And they all do kind of various permutations of kind of like a mixture of typical influencery stuff and then like weirdly kind of political, like corporations are bad stuff. It's very kind of generically blanket and like Jeff Bezos sucks. Just like thanks. I didn't know this before you, but I appreciate you pointing out that McDonald's is not exactly helping anyone. So yeah, the book is like a 200-page graphic novel illustrated by Nicole, colored by Ellie Hall, and written by me. And yeah, Nicole and I were both just very interested in these people, and it seemed like a really fertile place to set a story. And so we did, and then Dark Horse published it, and it's cool, I guess. I don't know.
So are we talking about the same Poppy that the heavy metal cutesy girl?
Yeah, basically a lot of these people kind of have segued out of their initial public persona, Bella Porch being a perfect example of them, where you start as like this kind of weird influencer-y type person, and then you get a massive following, and then the industry comes and they're like, we can plug you into this system, and since it's really hard to make like money on music, we can take somebody that's very established and well known and just like use them as the like shield to sell the music. So Poppy, Bella Porch, a lot of the like TikTok people are moving into that world. I mean, let's put it this way. If Paris Hilton can have a record and a music career, I feel like anybody can be plugged into that system, because there's a difference between being a musician and like being the figurehead of one of those machines.
Yeah, I got invited to San Diego Comic-Con. Z2 Comics had Poppy, worked together with Poppy and made a comic book. And I got invited to that launch party, and I'd never listened or seen anything from Poppy. And I actually really enjoyed it. The entertainment and the art of what she does. I didn't expect to really like something so heavy, because I'm not really into like super heavy stuff. But it was the cute Pop-Tart part of it made it so it was like, I kind of like this. And the music was good. It wasn't like, I was expecting just like guttural yelling into the mic, and it wasn't. Sure. It was actually good singing.
I mean, and the interesting thing about her too is that, our book centers around the theme of compromise. So it's about all of these people trying to figure out how to live their life, pay rent, and, keep some semblance of artistic, kind of moral core. And the woman who plays Poppy, Mariah, went through a very similar thing where the person who was her producer kind of tried to, because Poppy is a character, like she plays a character, and our book kind of is similar, where there is a figurehead character that these various people embody, and there's kind of like a seedy underworld of the internet, obviously inspired by Poppy and Dolvita and Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, and all these people, and it's very interesting to me how that their kayfabe, their characters have taken them in so many drastically different directions. And yeah, I wish that those Z2 comics like credited the artists. That would be cool. But whatever.
Do they not? I swear
whenever they do public posts, no, they say that Poppy wrote it, which is just not true. Like, that's bullshit. Like,
that's not true.
Yeah, no, they hired like middle tier Marvel and DC people to work on those books and to draw those books, and like Zoe, what's her face? The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott. What the fuck is her name? Zoe something. She illustrated the second arc And there's this big Facebook post from Poppy being like, check out my comic that I made. And it's like, you didn't fucking do this. You didn't do shit on this. You just put your name. Come on, man. Yeah, it's a bummer. But that's a problem across comics, right? Everybody always just wants to credit the writer. It's just frustrating.
Totally understand that. I didn't know.
No, that wasn't me calling you out.
No,
Yeah, that wasn't.
I'll do research because I also had Skillet to the store for their book, and I talked to them, and it did appear that they had.
I mean, there is a long history of musicians who also are into Max Bemis. What's his name? Umbrella Academy guy, Gerard Way.
Yep.
You know, there's tons of people that do both. I just know for a fact that Mariah's not one of them.
On that specific book.
Yeah, like that's just not. You know, that's like the Keanu Reeves thing, where it's just like, bro, Keanu, I love you, man, but you didn't write any of Berserker. Like, this is like an intellectual property farm play between you and Boom to try and get a movie franchise. Like,
I'm sure they sat in the same room for a long time and talked about what they wanted it to look like on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked really cool.
Yeah, I want it to be really cool. I want to be like a caveman guy. I don't know what that book's about. I haven't read it. I'm sure it's wonderful.
So cool. It's a wicked cool idea.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw what they were doing, I ordered so many of that book because everyone was like, it was a weirdly returnable book, and people, when it was time to return number 1, started returning it. I was like, you guys not understand what's going on in the background with this book? You're going to need these again when he comes to sign at the local Comic-Con.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, more power to Matt Kent and all the dudes that worked on those books. I hope they have fun.
All right. So where did you? I saw that the Star Trek Voyager book is credited to you. That's not your first though, right?
No. I've done a bunch of comics, but yeah, Star Trek Voyager: Seven's Reckoning is a 4-issue miniseries that I wrote from IDW. I blanked on the name of the company for a second. It's fine. It's I'm in Los Angeles, so it's really hot here. So I'm like, trying to exist for 15 minutes without my air conditioner turned on, so you don't have to hear the in the background.
It's okay. Mine's gonna come on, so it'll be okay.
Yeah, you're in Texas, right?
Yeah, Houston, and it's I was not kidding when I did my lead in. I'm quietly sweating to death in my own store.
You and me both, man. What they say? Pain is temporary. Selling comics on the internet is forever. I'm pretty sure it's exactly what they say. But yeah, no, yeah. So I wrote that Star Trek miniseries. I'm really proud of. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. Big fan of Tuvok. He's my favorite character.
That's awesome.
I specifically wrote a bunch of Tuvok scenes, even though that wasn't in the outline, because I was just like, this is the only time I'm going to get to do this.
You did a successful book. You haven't gone back and said, give me more?
Oh, yeah, of course. But, I mean, it's just, you know how it is. It's just, It's comics. So, I'm sure I'll work with them again. I love all the people over there. I'm friends with a lot of them, but it just takes time. All of that stuff, there's a couple pitches I have over there, but it's like the wheels just take forever to do anything.
Especially right now with COVID, like making the hiccup real. For some companies, they slow down a little bit more than others. So yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah. But yeah, I've also written books like Action Hospital, which is a webcomic that I did forever and has been collected into 3 volumes. And Nicole and I have a book called F Off Squad, which is not the name of the title, but I've been instructed not to swear, so I'm trying to be respectful.
Because there's a kid right there.
Yeah, it's definitely it's called F **** Off Squad. Although strangely, I think in Diamond it's you have to search F $$. Like Diamond just sucks. Diamond just sucks. I can't wait for them to be bankrupt. I hate you, Steve Jeppy. I hate you so much.
Man, I'm still okay with the Jeppies. This took cool.
I appreciate that you have a reality that is tied to their fate. I want them to all die. I hate them so much.
Tell us what you really think.
I mean, he's held the whole direct market hostage for 30 years. Like,
they could have gone and done what they're doing now long ago. They didn't have to sign any contract saying that they wanted to be with them forever.
That is a very complex scenario that we're discussing, which I'm sure we're both aware of the distributor wars of the 1990s and how Capital City went under, and it capsized, and then at that point there was basically only Diamond and one other distributor, and then DC signed with Diamond, and then basically it was just like, well, it is what it is now. Everybody board the Diamond ship, and then everybody sued Diamond in the early 2000s. And the Diamond lawyers, they're pretty great because they got a lot of money, and they got comics declared a magazine, which means that Diamond Distributors, once it got legally distributed as a magazine distribution company in the lawsuit, they didn't have a monopoly because anybody can distribute magazines, which is, we both know, not true. Like, they have a monopoly, and they've been steadily pushing out indie comics for the past 20 years, and it's really bad.
Kind of one of those things. For the longest time, I've wanted options.
Totally.
I didn't want Diamond to go away. I just wanted some options, and this is primarily the reason why. Yeah. Was that whenever there was chaos on their side of America, whether UPS strikes or whatever, we didn't have any option. There was no option for getting books. And I just wanted another place on some other part of the country that if something happened, we had an option to get it from somewhere else.
Yeah,
that was the problem we had.
And I because especially since they closed their West Coast warehouse, whatever that was in 2009 or whenever that happened. But the other part about it that's so frustrating is that I don't think people understand the very tangible causal link between the black and white explosion of a massive influx of very popular independent comics that really helped blossom and bloom the medium and are responsible for so many great things. They're tied directly to independent regional distribution companies like Pacific, Capital City. They're all of that stuff is interrelated. And when Diamond is the only place that you can get comics, and they still distribute comics through a pre-order system on paper, what decade is this? Is this 1990?
It's not. We put it in the computer.
The vast majority of people use Previews magazine. That's what I'm saying.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's insane. And I mean, look, I've worked in 2 different comic book stores. I love the direct market. I love the idea of a place where you can go and you can learn about comics from knowledgeable people in a friendly environment, and retailers can be a steward for the medium. I think that they're the lifeblood of comics. And I think that Steve Jeppy has an antipathy towards those people, and he's the exact antithesis to that idea. And thankfully, I think he's going away. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed he's going away.
Oh,
but then again, in 5 minutes,
it'd be weird.
Then again, in 5 minutes, we're gonna have a monopoly where Penguin Random House runs everything, and they don't give a care. They don't give a care at all about indie comics. That
kind of scares me because I don't know that culture. I don't know the book market culture anywhere near the same way I understand comic book culture. That part makes me a little bit afraid for what that looks like if everybody starts going to one book seller.
Yeah, especially are they going to have a vested interest in distributing single issues? I don't know. Are they going to? I mean, they have 4 different warehouses around the country, which is way better than the one that Diamond has. But like you said, it's just such an unknowable, oh man, we're really in a state of flux right now. And then did you see the lunar thing the other day? Yeah, that is kind of interesting, I guess, that at least now people are going to be able to get Marvel from different places.
Mm-hmm. Options. Like I said, just options is all I wanted.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's where the frustration and the root of my anger comes from, is just the fact that for so long there haven't been any. And it's a real bummer.
There's actually an interesting trend that I'm also seeing. I've always been somebody that if I can buy directly from a company, then I do. Mm-hmm. I know that everyone says that the shipping costs are more, but for me, the convenient cost replaces all of that problem. So
totally.
But I've seen a real trend with publishers asking if we would be okay with signing up with the direct ship. Even at I started a while ago with one of the publishers just saying, okay, I just want 10 of every one and 5 of every other one. And whatever trades you put out, I want 5 of those. And I don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to spend the time to do the order.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to end up with extra books, and that's fine. But it also means I have extra books on the rack for the opportunist buy. than
Yeah.
I wouldn't if I was just saying, okay, well, I typically sell one more off the rack, so I'll get one more. So I lose the opportunity for that second person that walks in and wants to try the book.
Totally. I think that's really admirable, because there are it's so hard to get attention on things that aren't garbed in spandex because of the legwork, where you have to, who is this person? What is this book about? What is it by? And then you just like, I guess I'll just order a couple more Batmans. Those I know Batman will sell.
I mean, it truly is the problem when you, especially for space, right? I live in Texas. Everything's bigger here, and we have a giant store. So I have 529 facing comic books that are, that I have available for new books every week. For the typical shop in New York, that's an impossible dream. There's no way.
Yeah, so even here in California, that's not happening.
Cali, no. So, so in this way, I think that what I really like to see, this is a pie in the sky dream, what I'm talking about right now, would be, I can remember back in the 90s, I had one of my friends who had a different comic book store than mine, obviously. He ran his as, he had a newsstand. So he got the newsstand copies of comic books. So they just got returned whatever didn't sell. So he had that, the newsstand essentially made the decision for how many copies they wanted to have on the rack. And it meant a lot more books were out there in the market. But it was returnable for more product that you would be buying in the future. And the rest of the stuff was pulped. So I don't want to ruin comic books or trees, but I would hope the pulp stuff became more comic books. Yeah,
totally. I mean, that the idea of people doing more returnability, I think it's risky on the publishing side, but it's so much better across the industry. Like, if there is a way to make that work for a publisher, and we all know why a lot of people do returnability, just to goose their numbers, to try and prove that their books are selling astronomically well, which is kind of like a weird false corollary where it's like, yeah, number 1 sold a lot because it was returnable. Issues 2 and 3 sold like a third of that. But I completely agree that I think that the direct market system is a system made for fans. Like, Phil Seuling started the direct market in the 70s, and it kind of low-key hasn't changed since then. It's crazy. And like I said, I love the direct market. I love comic book stores, but I think innovation would also be kind of cool too.
Oh yeah, I think that with the things changing for there's a lot more like live selling. You see comic book stores embracing that. It took a little while to talk about how to do that. It is hand selling. It's just for people that aren't standing in the same space as you. So I think there's some things that are changing, to meet people that are digital kind of people or don't have time to enter a store every week to look at things. It still gives them the opportunity to do it.
Wouldn't it be amazing if there was like an Instagram plugin where you could like be following the Diamond account, although, in this world, a distributor account, and then you could just be like, oh yeah, I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and it could just be mailed to you through a local retailer? That'd be amazing. I would love that. I would do that right now.
There are actually those things that exist. There's a thing called Comics Hub that does that.
Yeah, I've tried to use Comics Hub before, and it was super glitchy and didn't service me in the way that I was hoping it was. I was so excited, and it would just kind of. I mean, look, that's just my experience. Maybe it's gotten better since I used it, but
they're coding like 24/7. I'm sure Stu's been working on it really hard. I don't have it because I have my own POS system. I'm kind of a silly goose. But they're working so hard on it. If there's ever somebody that like made the A for effort part, he's still doing it, still going.
Yeah. I listened to a couple interviews with him. I think he was on Off Panel a while ago, and seems like a smart dude. And I also know the dude who used to do their marketing, Adam, who seems again very sweet guy.
Cool dude for sure. Okay, so what comes after Everything is Tulip? What do you have slated to come out?
Yeah, so Everyone's Tulip comes out June 16, I think. If theoretically, so that's the reason why I ask it as a question is because I keep getting mixed signals. Like, I don't know. They keep saying there might be shipping delays, but there might not. But it might just affect the book market, not this direct market. So I honestly, it's either coming out this week or next week, which is a little bit of a bummer. But it's either this week or next week.
We all know that. Our customers actually know that too. They come in there like going, supposedly this book came out this week. Do you have it?
Yeah, exactly. So it supposedly it comes out either this week or next week, and then it comes out in bookstores either the 29th or the July 7th. And then after that, Nicole Gu and I are doing a book for Simon & Schuster, which comes out next summer. It's called Forest Hills Bootleg Society, and it's about a bunch of bullied teenage girls that go to a school in the middle of nowhere, California, and they start a hentai distribution ring in their conservative Christian school, selling hentai to all the little kids, and they make lots of money, and it destroys their lives. Oh, thank you, Jen. You don't. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate the positive feedback from that, because sometimes I could be a little surly, as you saw. You know, sometimes I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon, and the fact that you had such a positive reaction to that makes me feel very good.
It's legit so hard to like surprise someone that reads comics and sells comics for a living. So If you get that reaction, you know it's a good thing.
Thank you. I'm very excited about it. It's coming out, like I said, through Simon & Schuster next summer, and I'm very, very excited about it. This will be our book market debut. You know, when you were like, I don't know that much how the book trade works. I don't really either. I'm learning on the fly. So we'll see how it goes.
So I'm guessing it's aimed at a teen crowd?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it's a young adult, teen coming of age, very similar to F Off Squad, our other teen coming of age book. And in some ways, Tulip is kind of that too, but it's a little bit older. The characters are like early 20s, as opposed to like 17 or something. But yeah, that's the next thing on the docket, as they say.
All right. How if someone was wanting to follow you or to find out more about you, what's the best place to do it?
You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at xdavebakerx, or my website, heydavebaker.com.
Do you do ridiculous things on TikTok?
How would you know that? How would you guess? Yes, 100%. There's lots of videos of me talking about comics history, talking about how DC Comics was founded by gangsters, talking about how they stole Superman, talking about how what a not cool dude Bob Kane was. There's lots of silly stuff like that.
Doing it the way it is, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're speaking from experience for this book, then.
Yeah, there's like we had talked about prior. Comics is the book is about compromise, artistic compromise, and attempting to, in air quotes, get to the next level while retaining your soul. And comics, as the great King Kirby once said, will break your heart. So there's definitely been a lot of those 3 a.m. conversations between me and my collaborators trying to figure out what is the best way to navigate a no-win scenario, for sure. Yeah. And the book is not about that, but it's in there that, it's not autobiographically about like, how do we solve this problem? But there is a germ of that emotion, definitely, for sure.
Does it blow your mind to think that comic books as we know them is just 2 generations big?
I'm sorry, say that again? What does that mean?
That comic books is the way we know them as an actual art form is only really 2 generations long.
Oh, you mean because they started in the 30s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's actually something that is very near and dear to my heart. The fact that, especially because, post Kefauver hearings and Wortham and the censorship of comics, saying it's only 2 generations old is very accurate. But it's kind of like comics as a medium has only really been seriously attempted since like the 80s, because like they tried to do some really cool stuff in the 50s. And culture was like, no. And then comics as a medium like stagnated because of massive censorship for like 40, 50 years. And then finally people are starting to experiment with the formal mechanisms of the medium, like basically in the mid 80s. And I think that's really exciting to me, because that means that there's so much left to uncover. There's so many final frontiers to conquer, and so much amazing work that is still unmade, which is very buoyant to my spirit. I find that very exciting, and I wish more people were striving for that. And hopefully I will be proven wrong and my cynical view on a lot of this stuff will be completely pushed aside, because there will be a giant sea change, and everyone will value comics as a literary art form, and it'll be shaping the face of America, not shitty movies starring Vin Diesel.
I'm universally seen as the most positive voice in comics, so we're the yin and yang of each other right now.
Hey man, I respect it. I think that being a stalwart soldier of the medium, I think is equally as important. I think comics needs champions more than any other artistic medium.
Oh yeah, and you're doing your job by making people talk about it, even if it's in like kind of like the that doesn't make sense kind of way. It does make sense. You make people think about it deeply about what's going on.
I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, yeah, sometimes I might seem a little bit surly, but I'm generally a pretty good-natured person. But the medium means a lot to me. It really does, and that's why so much of it is irksome, because it just so blatantly doesn't mean anything to so many people, either through complete apathy or an attempt to strip mine the medium for gains in other industries, which to me is just a cardinal sin. It's abhorrent to my way of life. I just deeply despise it. But rather, like you said, focus on the positive. Mm-hmm. Comics are great. There's more comics coming out right now than ever before in the history of the medium. Well, maybe not numerical numbers, but different titles being put out now more than ever before. And there's more interesting and avant-garde and exciting work than has ever been produced in North America. And I think that's a huge stepping stone. Absolutely.
Here we go. I'm going to say it here first. Dave and I are now the cool kids on the block. Nerds rule. So the comic book.
Let's do it.
We're going to go on a commercial break, and I'm going to return and sell you some of these things because comics are awesome. Thank you so much, Dave, for joining me. We'll have you back, and we'll talk more about it, because for sure I thought we had lots to talk about more.
Yeah,
Thank
for sure.
you so much.
Bye.